It's Thursday, January 15th, 2026, and we have a crazy weather pattern ahead of us that we need to talk about. What you're looking at right here is the GFS, the American Model 00Z run, and it wants to put a ton of snow out east, and not just up in the north, but down here in the south as well. The Euro doesn't completely agree. We're going to talk about that as well. But what the Euro does see is very, very cold air for the second half of January. We're talking potentially record-breaking air, seriously Arctic air, not just slightly below average air, but Arctic air breaking down into the states. Like I said, especially out east. We also need to talk about a stratospheric polar vortex break that looks to be ahead that could extend this very, very cold air into the first half of February as well. Last but not least, the latest MJO forecast wants to amplify in the phase 8, 1, and potentially 2 as we get into February as well. Really the end of January, towards the beginning of February. This is another very cold signal. Tons to talk about today. As always, I appreciate you watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And of course, if you like the video, like the video. Let's get into the weather updates. As always, quickly starting with our live radar, plenty of snow moving into the northeast up here, mostly just rain showers as we get out towards the coast, but portions of Ohio, PA, New York, you can see up here Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine are getting some good snow, and this is a lot of cold air pushing in behind the low pressure system, so some lake effect snow there as well. We could also get some surprise totals in the Appalachian Mountain Range. Right here. You can see the snow moving into the mountains. Mountain weather's weird. Moisture can stall out. It can snow for a little bit longer than expected. We've also got some showers pushing into Florida. This is going to continue through the early morning hours. All right, let's dive into the 7 to 10 day forecast, starting with the GFS. You can see this cold air and this storm system moving off the coast here as we get through tomorrow. Again, a lot of cold air driving into the southeast, and a good amount of moisture could be moving through Florida over the next 48 hours. We continue to push out through Friday and Saturday. More cold air begins to push through now through the central plains, and you can see we're beginning to get a baroclinic boundary setting up down here in the southeast. This is where we could get a snowstorm forming. Obviously, this weekend we're still dry. Temperatures are above average out west. Pushing through Saturday into Sunday, the GFS thinks we could get a snowstorm forming in this region here, potentially even snow as far south as Louisiana, through portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and then the Carolinas. And hey, if this storm system tilts enough, maybe a nor'easter up the coast. The problem is we don't have model consensus yet, and we're now about 70 to 90 hours away from this system potentially forming. So I was hoping that tonight with the 00Z GFS and Euro runs, we'd see some more consensus. They still both see the storm. They do not agree on where this snow is going to form though, what the storm track of this system is going to be. The Euro thinks it's going to be a little bit more offshore. The GFS brings it inland. We're going to go over the Euro in a second. Now, this would be some good snow for the southeast and up the coast here. As you can see, cold air continues to funnel in as we get into early next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And guess what? We're still dry. We're still experiencing above average temperatures out west here. You've got that positive PNA, that western ridge. Now, suddenly our polar jet is running through the central plains. You start to get some moisture here, potentially moving off the Pacific, off the Gulf. Watch what happens as we begin to move into next week. You can see that polar jet beginning to dive down, all of that moisture interacting with it across portions of the plains in the Midwest. Who gets a big snowstorm here? The models have been going back and forth, but the Euro, the Canadian, the GFS all see a big snowstorm potentially for the upper Midwest, the Midwest, maybe out towards the Mid-Atlantic, New England region, and then getting out really into La La Land, 250 plus hours out. Well, more snow for the east, more cold air for the east. It looks like a cold and snowy pattern, at least on the GFS. Let's take a look at the European real quick. Here we go. Same thing in the short term with the Euro. That storm system's moving off the coast. Cold air driving into the southeast. There's our baroclinic boundary setting up as we get into Saturday. Now, we are getting a storm system forming as well on the Euro, but look at this. Much lighter snow, much farther out to the coast. This may not even put snow into Alabama, central Georgia, Charlotte. The Euro keeps the snow further out. Now, I spoke about this earlier in my stream. The system moving off the coast now always had the potential to form a nor'easter or to produce a nor'easter, but we had another storm system or piece of energy back here kind of shoving it off the coast before the system could negatively tilt. The second storm system here doesn't have this big system behind it trying to shove it off the coast before it neutrally and then negatively tilts. So right now I'm actually leaning slightly more towards the GFS outcome, which would be better for the southeast, the mid-Atlantic, coastal snow, southern snow, but it's not by much. I'd say maybe 60-40. And you also have to remember, last year, our big southern snowstorm, the GFS saw that 6 to 8 days out, and the Euro really didn't pick up on it or get aggressive with that snow until about 3 or 4 days out. So the GFS actually saw something like this last year and was correct. And the GFS has done pretty good this year as well. I usually favor the Euro, but just because I don't see another storm system behind our weekend storm system really shoving the snow off the coast, not allowing this trough to negatively tilt, I'm going to favor the GFS GFS right now, but they both see a barrage of cold air this weekend getting into next week. The East is freezing. You get more Clipper systems through the Midwest, potentially out towards New England, through the northern plains here. Again, that polar jet begins to collapse as we get into next week. You get a lot of moisture funneling off potentially the Pacific, the Gulf. They both agree on this. And then again, a snowstorm, mid-Atlantic, New England, big snowstorm through the plains. You can see what's happening here on the Euro. Nice snow through portions of the Ohio Valley and Midwest. We'll see. Both are being very aggressive, like I said, with snow and with cold air. Taking a look at our ensembles, this is a pretty high confidence for a potential nor'easter and definitely a southern snowstorm from the GFS. Obviously, a lot of the members are seeing snow through the south and up the coast here on the GFS ensemble, or you wouldn't see these darker grays into the lighter to darker blues through this region. So the GFS is really giving you guys a good shot down here. You take a look at the Euro though, we still do have some lighter to darker grays through this region. So there are definitely members that still want to put snow through portions of maybe even Alabama, northern Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. And then you can see the mid-Atlantic, it's being pretty nice too as well, and New England. But again, the confidence isn't there on the Euro. I really wanted to see that with the 00Z tonight. Taking a look at the national blend, still seeing the opportunity here, definitely taking those GFS runs into account. Okay, so I've been saying it's going to get cold out east. How cold? Well, here is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Very cold in the northern tier states here and out east, and warm out west, specifically the southern plains and the southwest. Very warm in the central Rockies. 8 to 14 days. A little bit more of the same. Maybe you get a southeastern ridge forming down here, but still a lot of cold air through portions of the plains, definitely out east. You can see up here in the Great Lakes region. Getting out towards 3 to 4 weeks, cold air's favoring the east again, the central Rockies, the west, the southern plains, the southeast, a little bit warmer. And then you go to our month outlook. Where's that cold air? So the Climate Prediction Center agrees. Taking a look at our temperature anomalies on the latest Euro. Obviously right now we have a lot of cold air moving in. Maybe a brief warm up back to average temperatures as we get through Friday. But again, Saturday, look at this cold air. Sunday, look at this cold air. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, continuing to barrage the east. Here's where we potentially get that southeastern ridge setting up, maybe a little bit of heat returning into the southern plains, although the Euro is being super aggressive. You can see these 15 to 30 degree temperature anomalies below average, stretching from the southern plains up through the upper Midwest here. The Euro is just absolutely slamming the east with cold air, and not really just the east. As we get towards the end of the run, it's coast to coast here. And you can really see this showing up in the teleconnections as well. Take a look at what the European thinks through January 25th. Again, much of the same, like I've been saying, warm out west, cold out east. The west and east are going to be experiencing very different weather. Take a look at our Arctic oscillation. When you have a negative Arctic oscillation over winter, that typically means your polar jet's trying to dive south. There's a disturbance with your tropospheric polar vortex. Here we go on the latest European AI. Our mean is quite negative, but take a look at the graph cast. This is extremely cold, potentially record-breaking cold. The European weeklies, this thing doesn't want to go positive. The mean, the ensembles, all the way until mid-February. Taking a look at the GFS ensemble as well. Very cold. And then you look at the NAO, which gives us the opportunity for more snow out east. Negative, 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 negative. The European AI tries to keep it close to neutral more than the other models, but still neutral to negative. And we take a look at our WPO, negative, negative, negative. Now this is what could help to get some colder air down into the west as well. And you can see our PNA trying to stay neutral to negative across some of these teleconnections, across some of these models. So I do think there's going to be a break where maybe 4 to 7 days we get colder air, we get snow back into the west, and you can see that happening on a lot of these model runs as we approach the end of January. The MJO suddenly wants to re-amplify and potentially be entering phase 8, 1, and 2 as we get into the end of January and the first half of February. What does that mean? Tons of cold air out east, more moisture out east. And as we get into phase 1 and phase 2, it actually gets much colder from coast to coast. So this would include cold air out west. More cold signals, and again, favoring the east, maybe a snowy pattern as we get into the end of January and the beginning of February. I did want to show you this, and we talked about it in the beginning of the video, but the GFS is really liking snow for a lot of areas out east. Now, this is all the way through the end of the model run, so take it with a huge grain of salt, as I always say, but the cold air supply at this time of year is going to allow for the opportunities for this southern snow and for snow out towards the coast where sometimes we can be just above freezing. And while the European isn't as aggressive with the southern snow, we still potentially on the Euro get some snow down into Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, still trying to put some snow down into Georgia, the Carolinas. But look at the plains, look at the Midwest, look at the mid-Atlantic and coastal New England here. We're talking from Philadelphia up through New York City, Boston, up the coast of Maine. A lot of snow, a lot of cold air ahead. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I will be live streaming again this evening to talk about all of it and to take all of your questions. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, like I said, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And of course, if you like the video, like the video. If you're looking to join an awesome weather community as well, you can join my Discord. There is a link to join my Discord. It is completely free. It's in all of my YouTube video descriptions. Tons of weather updates in my Discord, tons of weather enthusiasts to talk to, and that's where I update everyone on my streaming schedule and when the videos will be posted. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream.